Hello, let's get started. We're doing our Geometry Fall Final Review Study Guide, Fall Semester. Fun. Alright, so Chapter 1. Let's get into it. Important vocabulary and concepts. I'd recommend you know these ones. I'll probably be name dropping a lot of them. This would be good stuff for your 3x5 note card. But we're going to get started. C is the midpoint of AB. So the first thing I'd like to do is draw a picture of AB. And C being the midpoint, which means it cuts that segment into two congruent parts. AC is x squared plus 5x, and CB is 8x plus 28. Okay. Since these have congruency marks to equal measure, we're going to set them equal to each other. And that's as far as I'm going to take it. Because to finish this problem, you need to use factoring. And so I'm going to skip factoring problems. They won't be on our test on this final, so we're going to skip them, but that's how you would set it up, so that's good to know. Use the coordinates of the midpoint of ST, and here you have the two endpoints. So I'm going to label this x1, y1, x2, y2, and our midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and y1 plus y2 divided by 2. And so all we have to do is add our x's, add our y's, and average them. So we're going to get negative 1 plus 3 divided by 2, and 2 minus 5 divided by 2. That's going to become 2 divided by 2, which is 1. This is going to be negative 3 divided by 2, which I can leave as negative 3 halves. And remember, midpoint is an actual point, so it should be a 1 x comma y type answer. Different than the distance formula should not be a x, y answer. It should just be a straightforward answer. But here's our formula for that. x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so here we're going to plug it in. You have to be careful, we have a lot of negatives here. I'm going to plug it in over here. So 3 minus a negative 4, that's two negatives, plus, the whole thing's under square root, negative 1 minus a negative 6 squared. Okay, so lots of negatives here. Two negatives make a positive, so that's going to become 7 squared, or 49. Two negatives make a positive, so that's going to become 5 squared, or 25. And we're going to add those two together. Okay, and so 49 plus 25 makes the answer the square root of 74. And we want to see if we can reduce that fraction, and it breaks down to 2 and 37 if we try and break this down, but 37 doesn't break down, so we actually can't break this any further, so we just leave it as the square root of 74. I said 34, I think. My bad. C is between A and B. We have AC, we have CB, and we have AB. Solve for X and AB. Describe which property was used. Well, let's draw a picture. We have A and B. C is between, so I like to draw this so I don't confuse myself. C is not the midpoint, it's just between. So I don't want to get confused and accidentally set something equal to something that it's not true. Okay, so, and then we have 6x plus 20 here. Okay, so what happens is these two little pieces should actually make the big piece. We would call this property the segment addition property. And so that's what we're going to do. We do 3x plus 14 plus 7x minus 12 equals 6x plus 20. By like terms, we get 10x, that's going to be plus 2, equals 6x plus 20. I'm going to subtract the 6x to get 4x, subtract the 2 to get 20. X is going to be 5. Okay. It says solve for x and AB. They didn't give us a position for AB, but we'll do it anyways. AB is this whole thing, so we just multiply that by 5. So 6 times 5 is 30. 30 plus 20. So AB is going to be 50 in length. We're going to squeeze off to the next page. I don't think so. Okay. All right. Name the angle shown below. we can name this angle M, but the best answer would be angle QMN. This would be the best answer. It uses all 3 points, and the M right here is our vertex. So you always want the vertex in the middle of those 3 letters. Okay? Angle 2 is x plus 21. Angle 4 is 8x minus 42. Find angles 1 and 4. Okay? Well, these two are congruent to each other because of vertical angles, so we can set them equal to each other. Subtract that, you get 7x. Add the 42 over, that's going to be 63. Divide by 7, you get x equals 9. Okay? It didn't ask me to find x, that's just what we had to do. So angle 2 is going to be 9 plus 21, which is going to be 30 degrees. So that means this is also 30 degrees because angle 4 and 2 are vertical. And then 1 and 4 are a linear pair, so those have to add up to 180, so that means this would be 150. 30 plus 150 makes 180. Speaking of a linear pair, here's 2 that are a linear pair. So that would look basically like this, 4x plus 12 and 2x plus 36. And so those would add up to 180. So we're going to add these. Set equal to 180 degrees. We get 6x plus 48 equals 180. Subtract the 48 and we're going to get 132. Divide by 6. I don't know that one off the top of my head. It's going to be 22 for your answer. Just cruising right along. Complementary are 2 angles that add to 90 degrees. Okay, so we're going to do 8x minus 12 plus 4x, this time equals 90. We're going to end up with 12x minus 12 equals 90. Add that 12 over, that's going to give us 102. Divide by 12, and that's going to give us a fraction, 8.5, which is, it's fine. No problem. Then it says find angle C, so we just plug it back in. So 8 times 8.5 minus 12. So 8 times 8.5 is 68 minus 12. That's going to be 56 degrees for angle C. Let me just double check that. Yep, we're good. Okay, always a good idea to double check. All right, and let's move on. Using the figure below to answer the following questions, ML and MN are opposite rays, so that forms a straight line. MT bisects, so MT right here is bisecting QMP, which makes these 2 angles congruent. Okay, so that's what that word bisects means, it makes those angles congruent. If angle 4 is 43 degrees, and angle 1 is 71 degrees, angle 3 is 2x plus 19. Solve for x. Okay, well, all of these add to 180. And I know angle 2 is the same as angle 3, so I can just write it again. So I could technically add up 1, 2, 3, 4 angles and set it equal to 180. And that's what I'm going to do. 71 plus 2x plus 19 plus 2x plus 19 plus 43 equals 180 degrees. Okay, so combine like terms, 2x and 2x makes 4x. The other ones I'm going to do on the calculator, so 71 plus 19 plus another 19 plus a 43 is going to be 152. Then we subtract 152, and that should be, I think, 28, but we'll double check. It is, and then divide, I believe that's 7, and that is correct. So x equals 7, then to find it, we're going to plug it back into angle 3, so that's 2 times 7 plus 19, 14 plus 19, I think it's going to be, what, 33? But let's double check. Yep, it is. Booyah! Okay. Chapter 2, Reasoning and Proof. Okay, let's do that. That sounds fun. Important vocab. So we got converse, contrapositive, conditional, inverse, hypothesis, conclusion, law of deduction. So here you're going to want to remember your hand signals. Okay. So if I'm going to, let's see, zoom out just a little bit. Okay. So if our hand signals were, this was our if-then statement. So this is my conditional. The converse, I just flipped the two statements. And then for the inverse, it's in the normal order. If then, we just negate. Okay, kind of hard to do, but negation. So we're going to do no, or P not, Q not. Okay, back to our regular conditional, and then contrapositive. You flip them and you negate them, and you do both. Fly away. Okay, so those were our hand signals. Let's get back into it. Describe the property being used. So we have all these properties. So there's a lot of properties. So here's the first one. X plus 8 equals 12y. 12y equals x plus 8. We're just switching the order here. So we would call that symmetric property. Okay, not to be confused with reflexive. Reflexive is the exact same thing. In fact, number 12, as I'm just kind of glancing down, that would be reflexive property. See how they're the exact same? These are not the exact same. A plus C equals 20, C is 30, so A plus 30 equals 20. That would be a good example of substitution, where we're substituting in the 30 for C. X equals y plus 1 equals z, so x equals z. That is more of a transitive property. We're trying to show connection between two different things. Okay, so we're connecting x and z together through the y plus 1. 3x plus 8 equals 20, then 3x equals 12, so we're subtracting 8 on both sides, so that's subtraction property. Here we're multiplying both sides by 2, so that's multiplication. R is the midpoint of TS, then TR equals TS, that's midpoint. Definition, or definition of midpoint. That's an F. AB equals CD, then CD equals AB, again that's symmetric, so that's a repeat. B is between AC, then AB plus BC equals AC, that is our segment addition postulate. Okay. If A is supplementary to B and G is supplementary to B, what must be true? Well, let's just draw a little picture. A and B are supplementary. So let's just, I like making up numbers. So if that's 40, then this would be 140, correct? And B and G is supplementary to B. So if we had G would have to be 40 degrees to be supplementary. So what must be true? Well, A and G would have to be the same value. So angle A would have to equal angle G by the virtue of our example. So it's a good idea to use some numbers in there. Okay, here we go. Given statement. All drivers are 16 years or older. So first we have to turn that to an if-then statement. So I'm going to say, if a driver then 16 years or older. Okay, and so here we can kind of get into our colorways. So this right here is the hypothesis, and this is our conclusion for the if-then statement. So the hypothesis would be driver, conclusion would be 16 years or older. So converse, we're going to take our two hands and we're going to switch them. So I would say if 16 years are older than driver, is that true? No, that's false. You could be over, just not have your driver's license yet. You could be what we call lazy. So this is flipping them. Those are flipped. Write the inverse. So inverses, we don't flip them, so we're going to keep the same yellow-green order, we just negate them. So we can say, if not a driver, then not 16 years or older. Okay, and again, the key here is that we're using the word not on both of them for inverse. So if you're not a driver, then you're not 16 years or older. That's, again, false. You could be 17 without a driver's license. You would be over 16. The contrapositive is to do both. So we're going to flip and negate. So if not 16 or older, then not a driver. So we flipped them, so the green came first, the yellow came second, and we used the word not for negation because we have to do both. And is this true? Well, if you're not 16 years or older, so you're under 16, then you're not a driver. Well, that's true because you can't drive until you're 16, so there's no way. Give a counterexample to the converse. So our converse, we said was false. If you're 16 or older, you could just be 18, no driver's license. Okay, that is a possibility. All right, so here is our law of detachment and syllogism. Okay, if I go to the movies, then I'll eat popcorns. We would call that P, then Q. If I eat popcorn, see how that matches Q, that's Q, then I'll enjoy the movie, R. Okay, so you have to have that same relationship. It kind of looks like transitive. So our conclusion is you connect P to R. So go to movie, then I'm going to enjoy the movie. And again, that's connecting P to R through this law of syllogism. If I miss my bus, then I'll be late for school. So P, then Q. I missed my bus. If P is true, then Q is true. So what's the conclusion? I'll be late. Law of logic, this is law of detachment. If the wind keeps up, we'll lose some trees. So P, then Q. We lose some trees. That's Q. Just because we lost trees doesn't mean the wind. So if the wind picks up, we know we're going to lose trees. Because I lost trees doesn't mean it. It could be someone with a chainsaw cutting them down. I don't know. Anything could happen. So no conclusion. Law of logic? None. Because it doesn't follow one of our laws of logic. Okay. All right, next time, chapter 3.